Hi there, welcome along to Language Open Learning. This is our English grammar course, number 2, and today we're going to be talking about the future tense. Now this video lesson runs alongside the PowerPoint presentation if you're on the website, and if you're watching this on YouTube or other media sources, if you click the link below, this will take you onto the Language Open Learning website, onto the LOL website. Now this lesson is free, all you need to do is register, it's free to register, and once you've watched the lesson and the presentation, you can actually take a test on it to see how well you're doing, how much you know, etc. If you pass the test, we give you a little certificate to keep as a certificate of achievement. So today let's talk about the future tense. In English, there are 3 ways to talk about the future. The first way is using the word will. Will. The second way is to use going to. Going to. And the third way is to use a couple of the present tenses. So the 3 ways to talk about the future: using will, using going to, and various present tenses. So let's look at will. Will. How do we talk about the future using will? Well, essentially it's formed by using will plus the infinitive of the verb without the word to. Okay, so it's formed with using will and with the infinitive of the verb without the word to. The negative is formed by using not. So will not. Will not. But when we're speaking or informal writing, will not is actually contracted. It's shortened to won't. To won't. For example, so let's look at will. Let's look at the first form, will. How is it formed? How do we talk about the future tense using will? Well, essentially we use will plus the infinitive of the verb without the word to. Okay, so it's formed with will plus the infinitive of the verb minus the word to. The negative is formed by using not. So for example, will not. Okay. If we're in speech or informal writing, obviously this is contracted. Okay, as in most things in English, we try to make them smaller, so it's contracted using "l". So instead of saying "I will," we say "I'll." Okay, and if we're talking the negative, we will say "I'll not." Okay, or "I won't." I won't. Okay. Sometimes in English, they can use actually shall. You've maybe heard that before, shall. Although this is becoming quite old now, and very rarely do we use the word shall. But we use it perhaps in older speech or informal writing, or making a request. So for example, we can say, "Shall I open the window?" Yeah. Okay. So we can use shall occasionally in formal writing, and it's usually used when we are making requests. So what does it mean when we use will? Well, we use will when we are talk generally about future beliefs, about opinions, hopes, and predictions. So we use will when we talk generally about future beliefs, hopes, opinions, and predictions. There's usually a time expression also when we use will. We can add perhaps, or probably, or definitely. And this shows how certain or uncertain we are about the predictions. So the time expressions we can generally use will be perhaps, probably, or definitely. And this will show us how certain or uncertain we are with our predictions. So for example, we can say, in the next century, most people will probably live in big cities. Okay, so in the next century, most people will probably live in big cities. Or we can say perhaps it'll rain tomorrow. Perhaps it will rain tomorrow when speaking. Perhaps it'll rain tomorrow. Or we can say perhaps Dundee United will definitely win tonight. My team, Dundee United, will definitely win tonight. Notice that probably comes after will, but not before won't. Okay, so notice that probably comes after will, but before won't when we're speaking. So for example, she'll probably come with us tonight. She'll probably come with us tonight. She will probably. Okay, and when it's negative, we say she probably won't come with us tonight. She'll probably, or she probably won't come with us tonight. So let's look at going to. Okay, to be going to, be going to. How is this formed? Well, it's quite easy. The be going to in future is formed with the verb be plus going to plus the infinitive. So it's formed with be plus going to plus the infinitive. Now, for example, Paul is going to learn to drive. Paul is going to learn to drive. Or we can say Peter and Emma are going to travel abroad next year. Peter and Emma are going to travel abroad next year. Going to travel abroad next year. So when do we use this be going to? When do we use this? Well, essentially we use be going for plans or intentions. So it's plans or intentions. The plan may be in the near future or in the more distant future. Okay, so it's for plans or intentions in the near future or in the distant future. So for example, I'm going to do lots of work this evening. I'm going to do lots of work this evening. And that's in the near future. In the distant future, we can say, after I finish university, I'm going to travel all over Asia. So and that's in the distant future. So after I finish university, I'm going to travel all over Asia. So we also use going to for predictions also, yeah? So we also use going to for predictions. And we use going to when there is some evidence in the present situation. For example, we can see something. Okay, so for example, we can say, look out, the books are going to fall. Okay, so look out, the books are going to fall. So we use, in that instance, we are using going to for a prediction. Look out, the books are going to fall. And this relates to the present situation. With the future, we've looked at will, we've looked at be going to, but now and we can also use the present tenses as well. So let's look at the present continuous. The present continuous, we just use it as the normal way of using the present continuous. For example, I'm meeting my mother for lunch at 1 o'clock. I'm meeting my mother for lunch at 1 o'clock. So we use the present continuous, I'm meeting, plus we use a time expression, a definite time expression for that. I'm meeting my mother at 1 o'clock for lunch. When do we use this then? When do we use the present continuous? Well, essentially, we talk about things that we have arranged to do. And in particular, social arrangements, like meeting my mother for lunch and appointments. And always, nearly always, there is a time expression. I'm meeting my mother for lunch at 1 o'clock. Or we can say socially to a friend, are you doing anything on Friday? Are you doing anything on Friday? And they may say to us, no, really, why? And then we can say, I'm having a party. I'm having a party, would you like to come? So we're using the time expression on Friday with the previous expression, and we're using the present continuous. I'm having a party. Okay, so the three ways of talking about the future tense is using will, is using be going to, and using the present continuous or present simple tenses. So, how do we know the difference between, for example, using will and going to? Yeah, how do we know the difference between them? Will and going to are both used for predictions. Both of them are used for predictions, and on most occasions we can use both of them. Okay, so for example, I think it's going to rain today. I think it's going to rain today. Or, I think it'll rain today. Both mean exactly the same. I think it's going to rain today. I think it'll rain today. So there's no difference between the two meanings. However, the difference arises when there is strong evidence, okay, in the present situation, then going to is usually used. So if there's strong evidence in the present situation, then we use going to. So for example, we could say, I think it's going to rain this afternoon. I think it's going to rain this afternoon. For example, we know this because perhaps there's black clouds in the sky. So there's evidence there that it's going to rain. So we use going to. If we're talking generally, we can use will or going to. If there's evidence there and we're fairly certain, we use going to. I think it's going to rain this afternoon. Why? Because I can see the black clouds in the sky. So what about going to and the present continuous? Going to and the present continuous for a few. Well, going to and the present continuous are both used for plans and arrangements. And in this instance, both of them can be used. So for example, we can say, I'm going to have a party on Friday. I'm going to have a party on Friday. Or we can say, I'm having a party on Friday. I'm having a party on Friday. Both of these mean exactly the same, more or less. But, however, going to can suggest that the details are not yet finalised. Okay? So if we use going to, it means that it's less specific. Okay? The details are not yet finalised. It's still just a plan. Whereas the present continuous, if we use the present continuous, we can suggest that the plan is more fixed. We have a date and a time and a place. Okay? So the main difference between the going to and the present continuous, if we use going to, generally the plans aren't fixed. Okay? We still need to make more plans. If we use the present continuous, it means that the plan is more fixed. We've got a date and a time. So for example, we can say, Paul is going to have a driving lesson soon. Paul is going to have a driving lesson soon. There's no fixed time for this. We just know it's soon. There's no specific time. But we can say, Paul is having a driving lesson on Friday. Paul is having a driving lesson on Friday. We know that the plan is fixed because we've mentioned the date, Friday. So it's more specific. Okay? So that's the main difference between those two. Will can mean future, but there's also other meanings with will that we'll talk through. It could mean, for example, a spontaneous decision that comes into our head at the moment of speaking, or for example, promises as well. For example, we can say, "Is that the phone ringing? I'll answer it." So it's a spontaneous decision. Spontaneous means something that happens now, and you think about it now, okay, immediately. "Is that the phone ringing? I think I'll answer it." Okay? So we use it when it's spontaneous. Also, I'll do the best that I can to help you. I'll do the best that I can to help you. Now, this is a promise. Okay, I'll do the best that I can to help you. So we can use it, the other meanings for will, we can use it for a spontaneous decision, a decision that we think of now and we do now. or we can make a promise with will. I'll try and help you as much as I can. Using be as well, with be, we use will or going to, not the present continuous. Okay, so with be, we use will or going to, but not the present continuous. So for example, I'll be back on Friday. So, remember Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. I'll be back on Friday. Or I'm going to be back on Friday. I'm going to be back on Friday. So we can use be with will or going to, but not the present continuous. So the future tenses, in a recap, the future tenses we use will, going to, and the present continuous. So that's the lesson finished. Thanks very much for listening. If you're quite happy with the presentation and with the lesson, if you click the green button down below, this will take you on to the next part of the lesson, which are a few questions in which you can test yourself on the future tense and this lesson and to see how much you know. So in the meantime, thanks very much for watching and good luck. Keep learning English. Thanks very much. Bye for now.